Hi Flosstube, welcome to my channel. My name is Jess, my pronouns are she and her. This is Alfie, the real star of the show. And we are here for a WIP Parade, yay! It is my 2-year Flosstube anniversary. What have you got stuck in your ear? Always something stuck in your ear, buddy. Yeah. We are here for my 2-year Flosstube anniversary. I talked a little bit in my last episode about the why I started and how that's been going, because it was relevant to my everyday life. So I won't go over that again. Like, if you're interested, go back and kind of watch the first 20 minutes of that. I will say as well, there is currently some giveaways running. If you are watching this during August, there are giveaways running in my previous video, so it's worth going and checking those out as well. And I know this is a WIP Parade, but there were several finishes and UFOs and things in there, so there is stuff to see there that you won't see here, so it's not just a repeat of what you're about to see. So variety, yay. So what are we going to do today? I'm going to do a little intro. I'm going to try and keep it succinct, and then I'm going to go through my WIPs from, they're loosely in categories, so big, medium and small, and we're going to see where I'm up to and talk about any goals, stitchy games, that kind of thing for each project. So, brief intro. My name is Jess, as I said. I am in my mid-30s. I live in Birmingham, which is smack in the middle of England, or the UK, with my husband John, who very occasionally makes a stagehand appearance. I don't think he's ever actually fully been on the channel. And my co-host Alfie. I'm not even a little bit offended that Alfie gets all the love. He is the star of the show. People always ask, he's a cockapoo. He is, how old is he now? I should absolutely know this. 6? Yeah. 6. I'm fairly certain. We adopted Alfie when he was about 18 months old from a friend's parents, so we didn't have him as a puppy. But he is very much an only child. Yeah. He keeps us in line. We are his human servants, aren't we, buddy? So anyway, a bit more about me. I have quite a technical job. I basically do process improvement, but it involves coding and quite complex, like, industrial processes, I guess. So stitching is quite a nice brain switch off for me. I originally learnt when I was quite small. I think I definitely went to, like, cross stitch club when I was in primary school, so I think I would have been about 7 or 8, maybe 9. But I'm fairly certain I had already learnt how to cross stitch. I know my godmother cross stitched when I was small because I remember her coming to visit, and the design itself, I wasn't actually that interested in the stitching. I was obsessed with the pattern. She used to have it on, like, I guess a magnetic board, but she'd let me highlight where she'd done the stitches. It was the best thing ever. I am a massive nerd at heart, and little grids of tiny symbols just made, like, tiny Jess's brain very, very happy. So yeah, I learned when I was quite young. I didn't stitch for years, and then probably 2021 I think I picked it back up with a couple of small kits from a sort of online craft retailer, and then discovered Facebook groups and that kind of thing, and got really into it in sort of 2022, 2023. In terms of my stitchy style, I would say I'm fairly eclectic. I've got everything from samplers, snarky phrases, all the way through to full coverage. I guess the one overriding theme, or two overriding themes. One is colourful. I tend to lean more towards bright colours over pastels or muted beigey shades. They just don't really appeal to me. And the second is I don't typically follow the rules, so I am a fudger rather than a frogger, and I am quite prone to changing things up, so doing things on unconventional fabrics or just, I think that's mainly it, to be fair. It's the fabrics. Oh, or I've done several projects where I fully beaded them. So I've taken a cross stitch chart, and for every colour in the cross stitch I've swapped it for a different colour, or for a bead of the same colour, and then stitched the whole thing in beads. So yeah, quite a lot of my projects will have some kind of Jess was having a weird moment and decided to do something a bit off-piste. But hopefully that keeps it interesting. I think for me, I am autistic, and I strongly suspect I also have ADHD, and I think stitching is actually like the perfect hobby for it, because the autism side of my brain really likes the repetitive, like methodical, meditative side of it, and the ADHD side of my brain loves, I've done this on a wild fabric choice, or I'm doing this all, like my biggest fully beaded piece was 22,000 beads, and was the first ever time I put a bead on a piece of fabric. And everyone I know, all of the people that I was meeting for the first time as I started this, were openly, people still say it, like I'm insane. I'm not debating the fact at all. A lot of my stitching choices are pretty wild, and I'm okay with that, to be honest. It's making my brain happy. We're rolling with it. So in terms of like my stitching methodology, like I don't have a rotation, but I do a couple of cross stitching games, and I do, at the moment I'm doing monthly themes. So stitching games, very quick run through, but I will include links below for more information if you are interested. The first one I'm doing is WIP Go. For anyone who's not come across this, it's basically bingo, and the person who created it, Jessie Marie from Jessie Marie Does Stuff, she every month will call 2 numbers from your 25 number bingo board. If the number 13 comes up, she'll call a third one. But basically each month you get 2 numbers called, and you can fill in your bingo grid with whatever you want. So I have picked one project, and I've put colours from that full coverage project. So each call has 2 colours, and my goal is to do at least one of them, and then the second one is a stretch goal. So every month I'm doing between 2 and 4 colours on that project. Extreme cross country, which is again my kind of go-to stitching strategy for full coverage. So that is one game. I'll obviously show you the WIP when we get to it. The other game is something called Flosstube Friends. This one was created by Anna from The Alchemist Stitcher, and what I've done is taken a bunch of it's mostly my large projects, so you'll see them first, and assigned each one to a floss tuber. And in a lot of cases it's because that floss tuber either inspired that project, or is doing the same project, or is doing a project by the same designer or the same artist. And whenever they upload a video, I will put a certain number of stitches into the assigned project. If they're working on the same project and they put work into it and they show it, then I'll put bonus stitches in as well. And several of the people who I've chosen are friends, so they have to have put work in as well rule got implemented, because when I first told several of the friends that I was doing this, they were like, oh, I might just show the project every video to make you add more stitches. And now they have to show it and have added some stitches. So it's become a nice happy, like whatever the opposite of a vicious cycle is, that I put stitches in, or that they put stitches in so that they can show it, so that I have to put more stitches in, and then I'm showing it and tagging them, which nudges them to put more stitches in. So we're all getting lots of stitches in some cases, which is nice. And then the third thing, like I said, I've been doing monthly themes. So we started off the year with things like Just Do It January, to just get those things done that have been languishing for a bit. We had FFO February, we've done March Madness, we've done all kinds of things. At the moment we're in August, so we are doing the Abandoned Sal August, which was originally created last year, I believe, by Kenny Stitches for his birthday month in August, so happy birthday, Kenny. But I've decided that worked really well for me, so I am running with it again this year, I guess. And again, I'll call out which ones of those as we go through. The last thing on the monthly themes, one of the upcoming ones is New Designer November, where I have been keeping a now shockingly long list of new designers that I like the idea of stitching one of their patterns. I think last time I looked we're up to about 45 different designers. I am not starting all of them, I'm just keeping the list as options, but I am probably going to be doing every other day starts in November, so 15 new starts with 15 new designers. And in order to do that without like adding 50% to my WIP list, I am working quite hard over the next couple of months to get some of my smaller things done. So the big projects are Flosstube Friends. The small projects are all kind of goals for finishes in the next couple of months, so that I'm clearing down my WIP list a little bit. And then, to be honest, the medium-sized ones in the middle are being neglected a bit. So that's why I've done them in the 3 categories, because they are kind of, yeah, that's how my current stitching focus is sitting as well. So I think that's everything. One more thing before we get into actually showing projects. If you are new, something that I am starting to do to make this as easy a watching experience as possible, I have always done overlays, so all of the information will show up on screen. There'll be what it will look like when it's finished picture, there'll be the designer, the threads, the fabric, everything, because I'm rubbish, to be honest, at remembering to say all of that. So it's all there, and even if I remember to say it, sometimes I don't remember or don't remember correctly. So it's all there on the screen. What I have started doing is I'll put that up at the start of when I'm talking about a project, but I will also put it up at the end. So if, like me, you're stitching whilst you're watching and you don't look up at the start, and then you something I say catches your ear and you look up and you kind of go, oh, I wish I knew what fabric that was. You don't have to go back, it will come back, the overlay will come back, so that you can get all the information without having to backtrack and listen to me waffle again. So with that in mind, should we get into it, buddy? I'm gonna have to kick you off the sofa. I'm probably not helping by fussing you, am I? Could you jump off, please? Off you get. Should we bribe you with the ball? Good boy. I'll throw it one more time and then you need to go lay down, okay? We're now going to play no give, only throw. Alfie likes to bring the ball and then just sit and taunt you with it with his back to you. I think I've just thrown it in the garden bed. So, fair warning, I will be looking at my tablet. It has all of my stats. When I started things, I use Notion to keep track of my stitching. I did talk about that a couple of videos ago, so I will attempt to do the clever link thing at the top in case anyone wants to know more about that. So, project number 1 is the Twisted Band Sampler by Northern Expressions Needleworks. This is my current WIP, so bear with whilst I attempt to get this into a state where I can show you it. So as you'll be able to see on the overlay, this is quite a tall, skinny one. I'm going to have to show it to you sort of top half then bottom half, because I have worked all the way down the side. So this is where we're at on the top half. And as you might be able to see at the top here, this is one where I have changed the colours. I've come up with my own colour palette, and part of why I've stitched all the way down the side is I was so indecisive about this. So every time I started off with one colour and I was happy with that, and I think I did the second colour and I was happy with that too, and then I started to get really indecisive and I didn't want to add any more in case I needed, like, say, more shades of yellow and I got to the other end and I'd run out of rainbow. So I got really indecisive, and then maybe I talked myself into adding one more colour. In the end, I came up with this colour palette. If anyone wants that written down, let me know. But I eventually came up with this and was like, right, we're going to have to lock this in. So what I did was stitched all the way down the side and across the bottom, so that all of the colours were on there and I couldn't change my mind again. So what I'm now doing, this project I found is a lot easier. It's a bit frustrating, I can't hold that up any better. So I found this a lot easier to work by working across the bottom. So I can have this, as you can see, it's on roller bars. I'm doing a really bad job of holding this up. but I can basically work across a section where I get to use a variety of colours, a variety of stitches, and not get bored of just doing the same band. And it also means, because the way the pattern gives the instructions, it always starts from the side here, I'm not having to start a band and then scroll up to be able to finish the whole band in one go. So that is where we're at. This is literally my current WIP, which is why it's got a needle minder on there at the moment. I now have a hanging needle off the back, which is probably not the best. There we go. So I have just been working in this band and this cross stitch band. This is the specialty stitch version, so if I bring it in close, hopefully you'll be able to see. We've got a couple of different stitches going on in each band, and then the cross stitch ones in between. I was part inspired to do this. So Rachel from Talking Dog Stitchery, this is one of my Flosstube Friends projects, and it's assigned to Rachel because she is also working on this project. That was where I got the pattern idea from, and then the colour scheme idea, so Sherry from Just So Sherry, around the time that I was planning to start this, she had just finished her Quaker Sisters, which is a pair of projects, and she's done one of them with light thread on like a dark blue, and the other one in a dark blue thread on a light fabric. And I absolutely loved the almost like inverted colour palette. There is another one of these that I will show you in a second. So I've done this one light rainbow threads on a dark grey fabric, and the other one is going to be a dark rainbow on light fabric, so that the two of them can hang next to each other and almost be like an inversion of each other. And I'm really happy with how this is coming out. It is slow going, particularly on the cross stitch. Ironically, I find the specialty stitches quite easy because I'm doing them one strand. Once I get into it, it's quite repetitive. The two-stranded cross stitch I'm finding a bit slower because it's pale threads. I'm having to take a lot of care to make sure that they lie nicely and yeah, look nice and uniform. This one, it will be on the bottom of the screen because I cannot remember. The fabric is by a dyer that no longer does fabrics, but I can't think of their name. But all of the threads are just DMC, either one strand for the specialty or two for the cross stitches. Project number 1, and I'm really excited to be back on this one. I'm excited to move the scroll bars up and start on some new bars, new bands even. Next up, might as well keep the theme going. So the other one, as I said, this is a light grey fabric from Luella's Hand Dyed Fabrics, who is a hand dyer here in the Midlands. I'm very fortunate to see at a number of retreats. And the threads are Paintbox Pearl Cottons. Zoe has an incredible range and they are hand dyed, so there is some slight variegation in them, which is beautiful. I was very lucky. I saw Zoe at an Itching for Stitching retreat, and she'd mostly bought like multi-pack, so a set of say 6 colours that go well together. And I was a little bit awkward and was like, I'd really like to pick like an 18 colour dark rainbow. Help. And she took me out to her car and I got to shop from the secret car stash of all of her individual skeins, which was a lot of fun. So absolutely love this. I haven't got very far on this one. I only started this year for my birthday, whereas the other one I think I started 2 or 3 years ago now. So I am trying to focus on the one, but I got too excited about having the thread and the fabrics and the pattern for this. My dad got me the pattern for my birthday as well. So I have digitised both of these. So for Twisted Band Sampler, it's just over 32,000 stitches in total, and I've done just over 9,000. So I'm at 28.5%. And then for this one, the Rainbow Band Sampler, this one's a slightly fewer stitches, it's just under 31,000, and I've done 872 stitches, so it's at 2.8%. So not a ton of progress on this one, but the threads for this are beautiful. I'm not a massive greens person, but I think once I get past the greens, I am going to be obsessed, and we're gonna be seeing a lot of this. But I want to get one or other of them done, so this one's probably going to get neglected. until the other one is finished, or at least a bit more progressed. Right, let's get that wrapped back up. I keep both of these together. I made this scroll frame wrap, so it can either be used around the scroll frame whilst it's set up with the sidebars, or I typically store them rolled up and then the sidebars tucked in there as well, so it's all kept nice and cozy together. Right, next up, my other big frame project, and then we're into project bag territory. So this is probably the most insane of my insane fabric choices. As you might be able to see, this is on silk organza, so the fabric is practically see-through. The white that you can see here is waste canvas, so that is just laid over the top and used to guide where the X's go. The pattern here is the Legend of Freya by Bella Filipina. It's my first ever fancy lady. Yes, I went straight in at the deep end with both a big one and a big one on an insane fabric, but so far so good. So we've done the top sort of 60 or 70 stitches, and as you can see, I have started to pull that waste canvas, so you can get an idea of how, particularly around the seahorse here, I haven't finished pulling it through her hair, but particularly around the seahorse, you can see how it will look like he's like it's floating there. And the plan for this when it's finished is to mount it in the front of a box frame, so it will literally be floating, so that it will have some cool fabric at the back of the box, but it will be suspended, because she's a mermaid and a seahorse. Why wouldn't it be floating? Why wouldn't you do this on silk organza? I am planning, so this one is another Flosstube Friends. It's assigned to Kat from Catkin and Lily. Rachel from Talking Dog Stitcher, and myself started this in November last year and did it as a sal. So a bunch of people have joined in, but we called it Freya Friday sal, and I have been neglecting this sal. So this one is coming out this month, and I'm actually going to a stitchy day on Sunday where I will be seeing Kat, so I'm hoping she'll bring hers as well. And Kat has started at the bottom, so I'm quite looking forward to the fact that at some point we're going to meet in the middle, and we're going to be able to, we're doing them on different counts, but we're going to be able to lay them out and have a sort of amalgamation of the two projects and how it will look when it's all finished. So I'll bring it up again. I'm absolutely loving this. I'll be real, my stitches are not as neat as I would like. I think some of that is because the waste canvas, when you pull it, the stitches are prone to moving a tiny bit, but also it is 2 strands, which is not my go-to. My happy place these days is 1 strand full cross on 20 count. But yeah, this one I don't think I could find waste canvas in 20 count, so we're going with 18, and that's fine, and it's coming out well. It's just slow going. Right, next up, I'm gonna have to start digging in the WIP box now, so this might get a little bit more chaotic. Oh, stats. I keep forgetting that I have these available. So Freya is roughly 31,000 stitches. I have done 5,415, and I'm at 17.5%, which is not, again, not bad. The other fun statistic I have on here is it calculates if I keep stitching at the rate I'm currently going, when should I finish it? So mixed feelings about some of these dates. Freya reckons I'm going to be finished at the end of January 2030, which I'm kind of okay with. I only started that in November 2025, so sort of 4 or 5 years, that's fine. Yeah, we'll look at some of the others as we go, because some of them are better and some of them are much, much worse. So next up, just to briefly show you this floss roll, couldn't think of the word then, was made for me by Jo from Ladybird, handmade by Ladybird. She custom made it for me, let me choose the fabric and everything, but it's really handy. This is a gecko rouge, so it comes with all of the threads. It's really handy for just keeping everything nice and compact. as I said, this is a Gecko Rouge, and this is another of my slightly insane fabric choices, which it might not look it, it's just some white fabric, right? This is 40 count, and I'm stitching it over one strand 10 stitch. So it's gonna, how many stitches is this one? It's 130,200 stitches. It's going to be about the size of a piece of A4 paper. So each 1 square inch has 1,600 stitches in it, which is bananas. So let me bring it in close. I appreciate there isn't much on this yet in terms of being able to tell what it is, but this black shape is a tree. You've got the start of another tree and the tip of a tree down here, and then a bit of the sky in between. But I appreciate that this is not, it doesn't look like much so far. Ooh, get my face out of the frame. I am loving this though. I have assigned this one to Beth from Beth Chadwick. She, when I first met her, was stitching a Aurora Borealis project by, what's the name? Stitcherovia, Emma Congdon. And I remember seeing it being like, I need an Aurora Borealis project. I've done the Aurora Mill Hill, but this also caught my eye. And I think this is like my 5th fabric that I started it on. Depends on what you count as a start, really. But yeah, we started with 2 strands 10 on 25, and I didn't like the 2 strands. I went back to my go-to 1/1 full cross on 20, and I didn't love the coverage on that for the dark colours. So we then tried, I think it was 32 and 36, 1 strand 10, and didn't like the coverage. So we ended up eventually on 1 strand 10 on 40. So yeah, 5 different fabrics we tried before we landed on this. But it is what it is, and I'm glad I got there. I'm glad I have a 10 stitch project. It can be a little bit hard to follow, but I am really enjoying it nonetheless. Just needs a little bit more concentration and attention to detail, but I think it's going to be stunning when it's done. Very excited for this one. And like I said, that one's assigned to Beth. She doesn't have that Aurora project anymore, she's finished it, so I just do stitches when she does a floss tube. As I said, that one has just over 130,000 stitches. I have done 9,255, so I am 7.1% of the way, which is not bad considering I only started it in March this year. So it's only been 5 or 6 months, 5 months I think. And according to the maths, I'm on track to finish that one in 2032. So that one's going to take me about 7 years if I keep up the pace I'm currently going at. We shall see whether I either keep up with it or whether I overshoot and do more than I have so far. Right, quick show of the bag. This one is from Turtle Bay Textiles, the lovely Sophie. I definitely recommend going and giving her website a look. She does incredible bags. And she is an incredible human, so definitely someone I would encourage you to support if you would like project bags. Right, this is the biggie. This is another Gecko Rouge. It's Gamer Nouveau with artwork by Medusa Dollmaker. I will say up front, Medusa Dollmaker is no longer an artist that works with Gecko Rouge. She has now released her own PDFs of a lot of her artwork as cross stitches. But from a friend who has had both versions, I strongly recommend that the versions that she provides they're not really fit for stitching from. They're just not great. So if you can, I actually got a hold of this by being a bit of a weirdo and going on Instagram and finding people who had posted their finishes using various hashtags. I can't remember whether it was Gamer Nouveau or Medusa Dollmaker, and just messaging people and being like, "Hi, I saw that you'd finished this. I don't suppose you still have the pattern, the paper pattern, and you might want to sell it to me?" And a lovely lady in the US has very kindly gifted me her paper pattern. and this was just after they got discontinued, so I was also able to contact Gecko Rouge and pay them the add-on that they charge and get the PDF copy, which has been a lifesaver. So this is, where are we at? I started this in December 2024. It's just shy of 200,000 stitches, so at the time, oh no, in fact it still is. It's, for now, still my biggest project. We are at 36.3%, which is 71,623 stitches. This one I intended when I started, had the goal in mind that I wanted to do between 10 and 20% per year. Last year I absolutely smashed that and hit 25% already. This year I did this for Monogamous May. Brain went blank for a second there. We did this for Monogamous May. I worked on just this project either for 31 days or until I hit 10%, which is I hit the 10% first. So I think it took me about 27, 28 days, 20,000-ish stitches. So this is now back to being a Flosstube Friends project. So it's assigned to Marika from Marika Stitches, and whenever she posts a video I put in 200. Whenever she shows Game of Nouveau with some progress, I put in a bonus 200. So this has actually been out in the past couple of weeks. I've added some of these skin tones on her arms, which actually I expected to get more of that, like more coverage for the number of stitches I owed it. I hadn't worked on this since May, so it had a fair bit of build up of stitches that I owed it, and I expected, yeah, I hit the stitch goal and was like, oh, was that all? I thought it was going to cover more of her arms, but I'm sure Marika has she wasn't able to post for a couple of months earlier in the year, but she's now back to posting quite regularly, so I suspect that this will continue to get some regular progress here and there. But we've already hit the minimum threshold goal for that one for the year, so I'm happy. However much extra it gets from Flosstube Friends, I'm happy with where it's at so far. So next up, and you might be spotting a theme here, we have another Gecko Rouge. I am a big fan of their designs, so it's not surprising. This one is a very popular one, so this is B by Lorna Lane. That's just the top half. I have absolutely nothing on the bottom half of the fabrics, there's no point showing it to you. And this one is assigned to Rosie from Rosie X Stitching for Flosstube Friends. At the start of the year she was on a bit of a break from Flosstube to have her little one and be a mum, so she has now come back to Flosstube. So initially I was doing this based on her Instagram posts, and now it's back to being based on Flosstubes, which is lovely. It's absolutely amazing to have her back. You should definitely go check her out. She's got some beautiful finishes, beautiful choice of whips. So, ooh, little seed thing floating by. So this is one of my older whips. In fact, this is a restart, so the original version is one of my oldest whips. This one I started in February 2025. I think it was actually a restart because I wasn't loving how stiff the gridded 20 count I had it on was. So this is now on a piece of Swanbay fabrics in Longbourn Blush, I think it's called. And I'm basically colour completing across that top half. Like I've said before, my go-to is Extreme Cross Country. I think once I've got a colour out, my brain sort of tells me I might as well keep going. And again, as I said, I'm a fudger, not a frogger, so if I make a mistake, we kind of, for the most part, just roll with it. This one is, where are we at? 65,000, just over 65,000 stitches. We've done 8,589 and we're at 13.2%. This one, unfortunately, is saying it's the second oldest, or the second latest end date of any of my whips, which is that right? Am I bad number? No, yeah, January 2036. So the only one that's worse is the the rainbow band sampler, which I made a token star on and then have put aside to focus on the first one, the first band sampler. So not ideal. I think something that I have realised about myself and about full coverage, I quite like on things like Game of Nouveau, it's got quite distinct objects, so you typically can outline it in whatever the darkest colour is for the shadows, and then you can focus on a contained area, which will normally have like a smaller colour palette, or 10 to 20 colours, and it's quite satisfying. It gives the dopamine kick of you've finished a thing and the motivation to move on to work on the next thing and get another dopamine hit. I think for this one, because the background, I'll pop the overlay up again, the bee itself has that. I've stitched the bee as a standalone piece before and I loved it. I've gifted that to a friend. But the rest of the background, although it's got the hexagons, it's all very like blendy colours, so you can't really like outline a hexagon and then just stitch that hexagon. Like there isn't like a distinct outline to each element. Some of the flowers or the leaves and that kind of thing, absolutely, but the background is big. There's a lot of colours that look very similar to each other, so it's a bit of a slightly harder work on that one. It's not one that I naturally reach for all the time, but I do want to carry on getting work in it as Rosie posts her videos. That's another Talbot Textiles bag as well. I know some people like to see the bags. It's a nice bee themed one. Next one is in one of my bags. So I do make and sell project bags, and I'll pop the link below if anyone wants to go have a look at those. I do, to be honest, I mostly sell them at stitching days and retreats. So the Ko-fi shop often doesn't have tons of stock because I make them, sell them, and then any that are left I'll upload. But yeah. So this, I think, let me double check before I say that. Is this the last one of these? No, we've got one. Second last of the big whips. This is my oldest whip, and this is, in terms of physical space covered, this is my biggest whip, probably that I'll ever do, if I'm being honest, because it's on 18 count, which is no longer my go-to. Should work out where to hold it so it's in shot but I'm not in shadow or behind it. So this is the project that I'm using for WIP Go, and it is also a Flosstube Friends. I am going to fold it a bit so that you can see the middle and my arms don't die. I'll do. So this is a great example of where I'm doing extreme cross country. So for anyone who's not come across that term before, what that basically means is I pick one colour and I stitch it absolutely everywhere. So to help with that, I am stitching this on a pre-gridded fabric. You can hopefully see that on the side here. And yeah, I started off, I think 2 or 3 years ago now. I did all of the darkest blue, which is 939. I think it took me like 14 skeins of thread. It was a lot, but it did get me some nice progress. I think a third of the whole piece is just 939. So as I said when I talked about WIP Go before, each of my WIP Go squares on my bingo board is a pair of the colours with the fewest stitches. So each month I cross off a minimum of 2 colours, if not 4. And then on top of that, whenever Emma from Emma X Stitching posts a video, she started this project I think back in October last year. So she is focusing a bit more on just the rocket, and she's doing it on a much smaller count, so it's quite cool seeing the size comparison. But whenever she puts work into hers and shows it on her floss tube, I put in I think 200 stitches for the floss tube and 200 for the fact that she's added stitches. So I'm making good progress on this. And if you do go back and watch my most recent update, I was lamenting the fact that I was really struggling on this. I couldn't find the motivation. I felt like I wasn't making progress. I put about 6,000 stitches in at that point. And yeah, I think people come on Flosstube and talk about their projects and say like, I totally want to work on this. And then the next time they update, they're like, I cursed it. I said that and then I went away and I didn't touch it. Clearly the opposite works. Like reverse psychology works on myself, apparently, because I sat here saying how much I was struggling on this, and then I locked in, I hyper focused, and we got about 3,000 or 4,000 stitches added to this within like a week of my last video, which is nuts. But I think the biggest thing that I've realised is having progress photos really helps. So that is something, I don't have that now because I haven't done it previously, but my plan is when I'm done filming this, I will be going through all of these WIPs before I tidy everything up and taking a progress photo. And every time I film, I'll then update my folder of progress photos with what I've shown you that time. Because looking back at pictures of this from January, I think is what sparked actually that 6,000 stitches made a big difference, and I really want to keep going with it. So yeah, we've turned it around since last time. For anyone who was watching, I think I got a couple of messages, a couple of private messages saying like, you can't give up on it. Don't worry, I haven't. She's back. We're back. I think I colour completed sort of 8 to 10 colours in the space of a week, and I think I've loosely given myself the goal that I'd like to get to 60 colours complete by the end of the year. So that's all of WIP Go colours, both the base and the stretch goals, and also some extras which will come through the Flosstube Frenzy. But I think getting it down to 30 colours feels like a manageable amount to then tackle next year and hopefully get this finished, because I think I said, no, I might not have said, it's 122,500 stitches. We're at 69,469, which is 56.7%. So I think I've done about 7% of that this year. I don't have that particular stat to hand, what the percentage is for the year, but I think we crossed the 50% mark in 2026. So there is hope. I think if I keep up with the knocking off the colours with not many stitches, I think we've got a good chance of getting there. Right, I've got one more big one to ferret out of my WIP box here. There we go. So this is another one in one of my own project bags. I have been looking for a gaming themed fabric for a while for this project to live in. This is, I think, the last of the Flosstube Frenzy projects. This one is assigned to Anna from The Alchemist Stitcher because she created the game, and she is also a big fan of Gecko Rouge because, shock horror, it's another Gecko Rouge. This is another one that I'm making quite a lot of adjustments to. So as you can tell, I'm doing this on a hand-dyed fabric. This one is Plum by Fibre on a Whim, it's 20 count. And I'm doing that because the pattern had a white background, and in the pattern it's stitched, and I was not stitching all of that white. So we have swapped that out, and I've also taken off, hang on, this one warrants the board. So you'll be able to see in the cover photo, there's sort of cobwebby, spiderwebby bits all around the main elements. So I've decided to leave those off. I do still have the moon to add in, but and I'm going to do that in a slightly different colour, so I want to do it in a moon colour rather than black. The artist that designed this is a tattoo artist, so it makes total sense that in the tattoo art it's in black, but I've decided I want it to look like a mottled moon colour. I am colour completing one colour at a time on this, and my minimum goal is whenever Anna posts a video I put in 200 stitches, but for the first few colours I owed it 200 stitches, and I started, and I was really sad that I got to the end of the 200, so I kept going and colour completed a whole colour. So for a while I was doing, anytime she did a video I would colour complete, and then I let things build up a bit, and it got a bit overwhelming that I owed it 3 whole colours. So we went back to the 200 being a minimum, and anything I do above that is a bonus. But I'm really happy with how this is coming, considering I think I only restarted it in December. It's gotten a lot of work since then. So in terms of stats, yeah, I started on the 31st of December. The total number of stitches is a bit of a guess because I've taken out the white background, but I've got it down as about 34,500 stitches, notwithstanding the taking out the chunks that I'm not doing. I've done 11,393 and it's at 33.2%, and I've also, when I've restarted it, I've tweaked the colour palette a little bit. Some of the original colours that were charted were a little bit beigey, which I totally get because there aren't actually that many greys in the DMC palette, but I've recharted it, or I've swapped a lot of the colours, and a couple of them are fancy flosses just to add in those extra, a couple of different shades of dark grey. And I think I've now colour completed 4 colours out of 13, which doesn't seem like a lot, but obviously, well, I guess it's about a third, which makes sense. So yeah, we're making nice progress on this. We are getting there. And this one's going to be a gift for my little brother because he is a gamer, but it's not like a scheduled gift for any particular event. It'll just be whenever it's done, he'll get it for the next birthday or Christmas that's coming up. Project bag. Okay, so that is the big projects. They are roughly split about, I've got 22 projects in total, so there's 8 large and then 7 medium and 7 small. So next up is a relatively recent start. I think so this one was started at the end of May. And again, this one was a bit of a stitch along. This one was with Rosie from Rosie X Stitches and Sarah from Sarah Stitchy Bug. And it is 2 for Joy Magpies from the Needle Designs Fantasy Cross Stitch book. I think the 3 of us originally, I think Rosie mentioned she was going to start it, and both me and Sarah messaged and said, shall we stitch it along? And then a bunch of other people have joined us since. So this is one of those where I've picked some slightly unconventional fabric. The model was on a sort of dark blue, and I think a lot of people have gone for that sort of range of colours, like dark blues or dark greens. I'd ordered this fabric but hadn't yet received it when Rosie and I and Sarah decided to start this sale. So when it arrived, I was like, oh, that's the one, nice and bright. I was doing jewel tone June at the time, so it was a nice bright one to go with that theme. I think the one thing I've realised is I don't love how this key shows up. I just don't think that colour is quite right on the pink, so I might have to frog that and swap it for a slightly different shade of pink. But I'm really happy with how this is coming, and it's my go-to travel, like grab and go project at the moment. So I don't normally kit projects up with threads. A lot of the ones you've just seen do have some form of threads because they're Gecko Rouge ones, but this one I have the threads included. Normally I just work from my master set, but I've got some threads, not all of them, but some of them, and I've got my little travel sewing kit. So this is something that I stitched and made last year. It's got a little popper on the back, and then inside has these tiny scissors and a little bit of felt with some needles. I absolutely love this. It's so cute. This is so tiny, but it just means that this can be my, what we've dubbed ABC project, my always bring stitching, always bring cross stitch. I'm struggling to get it back in the bag. But yeah, nice little one. That one is just under 13,000 stitches, and I've done just over 3,000, so I'm at 24.2%, which is not bad. I'm pretty happy with that considering how recently I started it. What have we got next? I'm at the point where I'm trying to remember what's in what bag and what's in what category for size. So this is another one that I started and then restarted. So the original was on 22 count, and I've realised that 22 count is not my jam, so I was just picking random threads for the border. But I like stitching with the sewing method, which is where you scoop, you do your down and your up stitch in the same motion basically. So I stitch in hand to be able to do that. You can't really do that on even weaves, linens and hardanger, which is what 22 count is. So we UFO'd that one, and we've started again on 20 count so that I can do sewing method. So this is Flosstube Friends by, I want to say October House Fibre Arts. Don't have that particular piece of information on the screen, and my tablet will crash if I try and get it up. You might notice that what I've stitched so far doesn't look like the finished photo. I have basically taken the paper pattern and digitized it and then completely customized it. So all of the ladies in the pattern, I have adjusted mostly their outfits. Sometimes I've tried to keep like the shape of the outfits as much as possible and maybe just change the colours, but for some of them I've made some pretty significant changes, and I've also added in an extra figure, so I'll include a mock-up of what my version will look like. But basically I wanted to do this to look like some of my Stitchy girls, and for example this one here, in the original design she's wearing a skirt, but I cannot for the life of me picture Sherry wearing a skirt, so I've swapped it to jeans. But this is the most petite of the original figures in the design, and she's also in the design holding her arms out with ornaments hanging from them. But I think I was redesigning this when Sherry had just been to Harrogate and had on her floss tube been talking about how she had so many shopping bags and how she'd been a bit of a liability, trying not to knock people with all her shopping bags, and I couldn't help but see them as shopping bags, so I've recharted them to be lots of shopping bags, and more shopping bags piled up on the floor next to her. So I've tried to customize all of them. So this one here is going to be Soph from Turtle Bay Textiles. She's going to be holding a cross stitch. That's why there's a square in the middle of her abdomen, but she's going to be holding a cross stitch with a turtle on it. And this is a classic Soph outfit, like a long t-shirt with the skull on it. So yeah, I really love this. I don't, like I said, it's in this middle category, which means it's kind of languishing and getting a little bit neglected, but I am really keen to keep working on this one. And the figure that I designed myself is Beth, from Beth Chadwick, and I've when I picture Beth, I picture her in a yellow sort of pinafore skater dress, and I've been trying to get the right colour of yellow because I think that's the bit that I want to stitch next. I picked one up when I was at Big Stitch from Rachel Talking Dog Stitchery, and we've put in a joint Evertotes order, so I have ordered a sort of mustard yellow from there as well. I'm hoping the two together will give me like the light and dark shades of the dress. So I'm excited to get back to that, but it is not currently a priority because it's not a Flosstube frenzy and it's not one that I think I could get done by the end of October, so it's being neglected. It is what it is. I'm resigned to the situation, to be honest. Where is this one? Right, next up. This is Starry Starry Night Biscornu by Cosford Rise Stitchery. I was very lucky to see the model Biscornu at Stitch in London last year, and the designer happened to be there, and she very kindly, I went and had a chat and asked if she did it as a PDF, and after the event she took my Instagram or something, and she messaged me afterwards and very kindly said that she would like to gift me the pattern, so I was very grateful for that. I'm trying to get this to show up in the light. The sun's just gone in behind a cloud. I'm doing this entirely as called for, so Rachel very kindly gifted me the fabric because she had it in stash, and I tracked down the buttons and gifted them back. Oops. So cute little buttons with the moon and star on to go in the middle. So between us, we've both now got the fabric and the fabric and the buttons, and then I've also purchased all of the called for threads. So I think this only got like 2 days worth of stitching, so I don't think it will take me ages when I actually buckle down and do it. It's 5,500 stitches, give or take. I think this is another one that I digitized myself. I do tend to do that. No, I think the PDF wouldn't go into Pattern Keeper, I think, or maybe it's because it has backstitch. I redigitized it basically so that it would go into Saga. So 5,500 stitches. I've done 879, which is a bit pathetic really, and it's a 16%. So I genuinely think that was 2 days. I don't think it would take ages to crack on and get that done. But again, it's about 5,000 stitches, but it's not on the priority list at the moment. Next up, so if you did watch last episode, you'll be familiar with this because it almost was a UFO. This is Chalet in the Snow. It's a design by Flosstube, who I do some model stitching for. So this is part of the Abode series, and I think I finished it last year now, the Cabin in the Woods, which is one of her most popular designs. I definitely recommend going and checking it out because it is lovely to stitch. And that has gone up in our hallway, and I've since decided that I want that wall to be a bit of a seasonal thing where I can swap things in and out. So Lauren very kindly gifted me this pattern and the shack by the shore so that I could stitch them for my wall. And yeah, I made a start on this in February, and this fabric, I love it. It never shows up as well on my preview, but I think when I edit it then shows up a lot better. So I'm hoping you're getting some of the mottling and the galaxy vibes. It's got sort of, I don't even know how to describe the colours. It's got some yellows, some sort of peachy colours, some purpley shades. It's gorgeous. It very much gives me galaxy, sort of nebula, space nebula vibes, which is why I thought it would be really, really perfect for another Aurora Borealis themed project. But I was a bit worried that the snow, there's a lot of white snow on this, that it wouldn't show up. Now, a lot of people said, if you're not loving it now, it's worth swapping. And every time I read one of those comments, like, my heart was like, no, you can't give up on it. The fabric's too perfect. So I've un-UFO'd this, and I'm going to stitch some of the snow just to see how it looks. And if necessary, I might try outlining it, adding some backstitch just to help it pop from the fabric a little bit. But I'm not ready to give up on this just yet. So we're gonna persevere. I don't know when it will come back out for that testing, but I'm not ready to let it go. So that one's sticking around for the time being, at least. It might still get UFO'd, but not today. Next, and to be fair, there's not really much point in telling you the stats for that one because it's such a pathetic start. It's 525 stitches, 5.4%. It's just under 10,000 stitches total. Next up, another of my slightly insane fabric choices. This is Greenhouse of Oddities. It's a Lola Crow stitch along. I didn't start it as part of the stitch along. I started it several years later. Emma from Emma Egg Stitching and Jo from Belushi Stitches are the Sal Queens, and they were going to do this. I think this was during 2025 they stitched this one, and I was planning to start it anyway, so I said I'd stitch along, and to be blunt, I did not. So this is another one that's coming out for Abandoned Sal August, and although this is in the medium category, I am determined to get this done by the end of October, because it's not like it's doing so well. So stats wise, we're on 53.6%, which means I've done 8,531 stitches. It's about 16,000 stitches in total, so I've got about 7,500 left. But in this gap just here, hold it the right way up, there is a lady stood at the easel. I've decided not to stitch her. And on this side there is a guy kneeling looking at a plant, and I've decided not to stitch him. So my greenhouse is going to have no people in it. I kind of want it to look a little bit like abandoned, but in like a kind of creepy, like, where did they go? Like someone was mid-painting, what happened kind of way. So mine will have slightly fewer stitches than the overall pattern says. Fabric wise, this one is on 32 count Tiger's Eye by Weeks Dye Works, and I ended up stitching this 1/1 because it was one of my New Year's. I did 12 by 12 on New Year, so 12 new starts, one every hour during New Year's Eve. And it's meant to be a countdown to midnight, but I don't really function at midnight, so I think I did 10 till 10 or something. And this was the last start, and I hadn't done the maths of whether it would fit if I did it this way 2/2. So, and at that point, I think it was the year that John was also ill on New Year's Eve, so amongst these 12 starts I'd done like 2 or 3 pharmacy runs and a supermarket run, and I was a bit frazzled, and instead of bothering to do the maths and work out if it would fit on the fat 8, sorry, I just figured if I did it this way it will definitely fit. And then I avoided it for ages because I thought I was going to hate working 1/1. And then I picked it up and I loved it, and we've run with it. So I do really love this, and I enjoy working on it. And I've started extreme cross countrying and picking the colours with the fewest number of stitches and just colour completing them, which isn't as easy on this because it's not gridded, but where I can, where I've got something to count off of, I've been doing that, and that's given me the dopamine of ticking off some colours. So next time I pick this up, which again will be for Abandoned Sal August, I will hopefully get some nice progress on that one and get it nice, at least get the stitches down so that for September and October I've got some chance of chipping away and getting it finished. This one's in another of my little project bags, which I really love, the sort of mechanical clockwork bees on that fabric. I thought it was perfect for a greenhouse of oddities theme. Okay, what have we not done in this category? This one. So this is another unconventional fabric choice. So this might look like it's just on white, but in fact it's on this beautiful blue, oh, get it so that the light catches it, this mottled blue fabric with gold speckles. But this is just plain quilting cotton, so again we are using waste canvas to guide where the stitches go. This pattern I believe is called Astronaut and T-Rex, but I quite often just refer to it as Space Dino. I cannot for the life of me remember who the designer is. It was on Etsy, but that will be on the bottom of the screen and also down in the description. And I was definitely inspired to stitch this one by Sophie from Turtle Bay Textiles. She has this piece finished and framed and up in her shop, and every time I went to visit her shop I would see it and be, I really want that, I need it. Emma and Joe, the Sal Queens, also do Dinosaur December, and I think I got my arm twisted into joining them and starting this one. I think when I get going it will go quite quickly. It's, let's be having a look, 7,669 stitches, and I'm about 10% of the way. So, and again, I think I worked on this maybe 2 or 3 days in December and then haven't touched it since. Just, it's in that middle category, so it's not getting the love it deserves. But it will definitely, if nothing else, it will come back out in December for Dino December again. But I really like it, and I think it'll be great when it's done. And I'm really excited to pull the waste canvas and see it suddenly pop on that background. I think it'll be great. Ooh. And that in true, can't think of the phrase. In honour of the fact that it was Soph that inspired me, it's in another Turtle Bay Textiles bag with dinos all over it. Love it. And quite the precarious pile of whips next to me here. Okay, next in this category, might even be last in this category. Yeah, last in this category, we have my Owl Forest embroidery project. So this is Light Sampler. I'm stitching this on 16 count Gothic by Picture This Plus, and I hope that's showing up better. There we go. I hope that's showing up better for you than it's looking on my preview picture, because it just looked black. It's a lovely dark blue fabric, and then the design is all these different vintage lights. Again, it's in the middle category, so it's getting largely neglected, but I absolutely love this. It's really satisfying to work on. It goes quite quickly when I do pick it up, and I'm stitching this with the Owl Forest thread pack. They do their own overdyed threads, so really enjoying that. And this is what I call one of my meta cross stitch projects, so it's cross stitch about cross stitch, and lighting is clearly, well, we all know, is one of the important elements of getting your stitchy spot right. So I have a wall up here next to my stitchy spot where all of my finished meta cross stitch pieces go to live. Yeah, put that back in the box. There is another project in there that I'm going to need to come back to in a second. So that is all of my medium projects. 7 to go. I promise we're getting there. So we've had to shuffle up the sofa a bit because the sun was creeping over and the bright light next to me was making the camera go a bit weird. So into the smalls. I will say briefly before I get stuck into these, like I said, my goal is to get a bunch of these done by the end of October, and to do that we have Spinner September, where anything with less than 5,000 stitches left will go on a spinner, but it will go on once per 1,000 stitches left. So if it gets spun, I'll add 1,000 stitches and then we'll spin again. If it comes up again, it'll get another 1,000 stitches, and if the last wedge comes up, it will get finished regardless of how many stitches left. So that's September, and then October we're doing Outro October, where I will pick whichever WIP has the fewest remaining stitches and we will just finish it, and then we'll pick the next one with the next fewest stitches and we're just going to finish it. We're just going to work on it exclusively until it's done. So hopefully between those two themes we will get, like, September is about getting the stitch count down on some WIPs, and then October is knocking them off the list. So first up on my smalls we have this one. This is Buzz Block Party. It is, I want to say hands-on design, but I might be wrong. Can't remember, to be honest. So that is the side panel, and then this is the top piece. So the bottom is just the outline, which admittedly I haven't done, but the top is almost done, and then the side we've outlined and then started on the fill. In terms of metrics, this one has been languishing for a bit. So I did start this in 2024. It probably ought to be done by now. It's got 4,770 stitches in total. I've done 1,898, so we're at 39.8%. The stats does say that if I keep on at the current pace, this is going to be finished in January 2029, which is a bit painful to think about. But yeah, I am hoping that actually that's going to be very wrong and it's going to be done in October 2026. Which just goes to show that the stats, they have, I think they sometimes have their place, but they can also be a little bit demotivating. In fact, not one of these small projects has a predicted end date this year. The earliest of them, there's only one that says 2027, 2 that say 2028, and 4 that say 2029. So hopefully we're going to prove that very wrong in the next couple of months. Next up, this is Going Into a Spiral by Plastic Little Covers. It's done on a Stitch Bunny printed fabric, so it's white on the back and it has this beautiful print on it. I think I bought one big piece of this and have done quite a few finishes, so I see this fabric around my house quite a lot where they're up on the wall. This is one of those ones that I have done a bit of a bead conversion, so all of the black is just DMC one strand cross stitch, and then all of the colours, if I bring it in, hopefully you'll be able to see, all of the coloured elements are beaded. I am very lucky that I live about 40 minutes away from Spellbound Beads in Lichfield, so whenever I want to do a bead conversion like this, I pull the DMC colours that are called for, I take them with me to the shop, and I basically do my best to colour match. They're usually not perfect, but it gives me a guide, and to be honest, for things like this, I think it was 3 pinks, 2 purples and 2 greens or something. Maybe 3 purples. So as long as you end up with sort of the right number of colours and it's like a light, medium and dark pink, the nitty gritty doesn't necessarily matter. It doesn't matter if it's a perfect match. But this is very much a nod to the fact that even when I'm having a bit of a breakdown, which has been known to happen, I'm not very good at recognising that I need to put myself first and stop trying to help other people when I don't have anything in the tank to help myself. I'm getting there, but sometimes it feels like there isn't much of a choice. Right, next up we have Snip Snip. This is, the designer will be on the bottom of the screen because I have no idea. I want to say it might be October House Fibre Arts, but editing Jess knows best. So this is quite a small one. It is only 1007 stitches, but I, in classic me fashion, have made it hard for myself. I am doing this entirely in metallics, and every pair of scissors is a different metallic thread so that I can test them all out and take notes. And the plan is, when this is framed, it will go on my Meta cross stitch wall, and on the back of the frame I will have a photo of it with annotations. So I'm taking notes when I stitch with each of these. So for example, a note that I might make would be like, this one frays a lot, use thread wax or thread conditioner. They all have slightly different sparkles as well, so yeah, it'll be nice to have it literally as a sampler to be able to pull off the wall and go, oh, which kind of sparkle do I want? And then look on the back and be like, oh, okay, must remember that I need to use short lengths for this one, or whatever it might be. I have all the metallics, I just need to crack on and do it. We have done 313 stitches, so we're at 31%. I genuinely think I could smash this out in like a day or two. If I, like a weekend day, I could just bash through that and get it done, which is probably what will happen in October, because that is one of the fewest remaining stitches on the list. So touch wood, that should get done this year. Next up is another small scissors themed piece. I think this is my smallest in terms of stitch count. This is, it's got a longer name but I can't remember what it is. It's like a trio or something. I've just got it written down as scissors. And this is a bit of a Christmas project, although it might not look it. The fabric and the thread I'm using were part of my advent calendar last year, and the pattern, I think Emma from Emma X Stitching finished it in December during her Flossmas, and I remember messaging and saying I love that pattern. She was like, well, I'll send it to you now that I'm done with it. So she very kindly gifted me the pattern, so it's a bit of a nod to that advent season. And again, I've digitized this. I've also, you might be able to see, I've also drawn some of the pattern on with heat erasable pen, so this can be a travel project, although it's 2 strands and it's hand dyed thread, so not one that I've reached for. But I think, again, it's only 923 stitches in total, and I've already done 215, so 23.3%. Again, if I really wanted to and I gave it a weekend day, I could smash that out in a day. I just need to get around to actually doing it. So again, that is top of the list for outro October. I've not even bothered to put it in a project bag because I was like, this will be finished so quickly. It's still in the thread, the fabric bag from the advent calendar, which is a bit shameful really, but hopefully it'll be done soon and then won't be a problem. Oh, what am I like? Okay, 3 to go. So this one is a Maloka Designs pattern. It's on a piece of 20 count coffee craft fabric and it is called, I believe, Mandala Giraffe. So this is one that I restarted. I think I originally did it on a bigger fabric, like a 16 count with 2 strands, and I just wasn't reaching for it. Admittedly, I restarted this in January and I've not touched it since, but again, it's not tons of stitches. It's got 4,644 stitches, and this was maybe 2 days worth of work. We went on a little cruise and it was a nice compact one to take with me. I managed to, got a little tin, I managed to squeeze some threads in there and a pair of scissors and a little needle book. So in that 2 days I got 780 stitches done, which is 16.8%. So we made some good progress. Again, I think if I sat down and cracked on with it, it'd be done in under a week. Just need to actually do it. But this will be going on the September spinner, and depending on how much gets done, it may then get down to a low enough stitch count that it gets knocked out in October. But we shall see. I think I originally pictured that becoming my always bring cross stitch, like a good travel project, but the areas, like the way the pattern is, it's actually got more colours than you think, and they're in like little bitty chunks, so it's not as straightforward as being able to outline an area and then just fill it in with one colour. So it will get there though. This one is a very recent restart. This has only had 2 stitchy sessions since I restarted it. Again, restarting because I'd done it on a bigger fabric with 2 strands, and that's just not my vibe anymore. So we restarted on this, like it's a piece trimmed off of a Coffee Crafts 20 count that I'd bought. Most of it was green. You can probably see some of the green coming in here, but this corner happened to be blue, and that was what I was looking for, so we've gone with it. This is actually a very poignant, I don't know if that's the right word. It's Ted Lasso Day, guys. For anyone who is new, I'm a little bit obsessed with Ted Lasso. Today, as I'm filming this, is the release day for the first episode of season 4, and it has come at a perfect time because it's been a rough couple of weeks and I needed the positivity and the wholesomeness. So I woke up this morning and was immediately saying to John, like, it's today, it's come out today, it launched at 8 AM. So we sat and watched it whilst we had breakfast, which was the best. I'm stitching this during watch parties, so me and some of the girls, the Stitchy girls, have been doing watch parties for various TV shows, and Gooby Glam Stitches shared her favourite TV programme. We all watched that, and then we've also done Bridgerton, we've just started Gossip Girl, and I've talked everyone into watching Ted Lasso. Before anyone says anything, it's not about football. It says it's set in a football club, but it's not about the football, it's about the people, and it's so wholesome. If you haven't given it a go, I highly recommend it. But we watched 2 whole seasons before I clocked that I had a Ted Lasso project. So I restarted this one 2 watch parties ago, and based on how many stitches I've gotten done so far in those two evenings, I think if I keep up the same pace, I will finish this when we finish watching season 4, which is really satisfying. And I'm excited to have this one done as a little memento of getting to share my favourite TV show with some of my besties. Yay! Honestly, it has made my day today. The first episode of season 4 is very much just set up, so I'm quite excited for next week for episode 2, but I'm just glad it's back. So this is There Is Room. I believe the designer is The Proper Stitcher, and I absolutely love this. I originally saw it because Rachel from Talking Dog Stitchery had taken it as a table gift for her table mates at Stitch in London 2 years ago, and several of those table mates immediately started stitching it and shared on social media, and when they started popping up, I knew that I was going to have to get this one and make a start as soon as possible. I am stitching this on some Weeks Dye Works, gonna say 32 count, maybe 28 count. It will be on the bottom of the screen again. And the thread I'm using is Baby's Blanket, so it's a beautiful sort of pastel rainbow colour. This one was a 2024 start, so it's a bit embarrassing that it's still kicking around, to be honest. It's not many stitches. It is taking its sweet time to load. So this only has 3,500 stitches. I'm at 51.1%. I just need to crack on and do it. I think because it's 2 strands, because it's a pale thread, I'm railroading to try and make sure that the stitches look neat. It's on a dark fabric, so the lighting's got to be just right. So it's it's just not one that I reach for, but I am really keen to have this done and be able to have it hung up in the hallway of our house as a welcome. And to be honest, this is, I've said it before, I think I phrased it as like, it's a hill I'll die on. The idea that there is room for everyone, no one should be excluded for any reason really. Especially things like the colour of your skin or your sexuality or your neurotype, your gender. They're just, they don't matter. They shouldn't be reasons for anyone to be excluded and not welcomed. And I am really proud, I'm really grateful that I have found stitchy friends and stitchy community that echo that sentiment in their own values. It's how I know I found my people, for sure. And I'm so grateful for all of them. So hopefully that's the only thing that was missed. This might get really choppy if there's other things missed that I'm having to edit in. But that brings me to the end of my 22 WIPs. I am really grateful that you have joined me today and stuck it out to the end. I hope you've liked what you've seen. Alfie, you wanna come snuggle? Come say goodbye. So I hope you've liked what you've seen. I hope there's been something in there that you've gone, oh, I've never seen that before. And yeah, I hope if you haven't already and you're interested in seeing more, you'll consider subscribing. I tend to do updates every sort of 2 to 4 weeks depending on how stitching is going, and I sometimes will throw in tutorials. I'm doing a bit of a series for the organza project to show how I'm working on that, and what the process is behind tackling a project like that. And yeah, we chuck in other things, planning videos for the monthly themes, that sort of thing. So as I said, I hope you've enjoyed. I hope you've got some nice stitching done. I think Alfie has just spotted John, maybe? Yeah, Alfie's just spotted John out in the hallway, which is why he's perked up. So we are gonna leave it there. I hope you have a lovely day. John is now trying to direct Alfie's attention to the camera. Happy stitching, everyone. I hope you have a good day, and we'll see you next time. Bye. You wave, paw. Yay.